Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recently, a lot has been discussed about the safety of our schools, and I understand that it's campaign season and people like to jump on potential hot issues. However, I am disgusted that we have people running for office that are trying to make people feel like our children are not safe, just to benefit themselves politically. I'm not going to name names because it really doesn't matter. What does matter is that our residents know the facts when it comes to the safety of our schools. What you will find is that the people who are trying to instill fear into our families do not even have children in our public schools. First off, I have 2 daughters currently in a public elementary school in Coral Springs, with another that I'll start in a few years. I also have my wife teaching at a public school here in town. And while I have always been pushing for a full-time school resource officer in every school, not once have I felt that my children nor my wife, who are everything in my life, were not safe while at school. Last night, once again, we had candidates talking about an incident at a school where a suspect was apprehended on school property and said something to the effect of, "Thank God we had a school resource officer there." It sounds nice politically, but I want our residents to understand the facts of this case. The suspect was pulled over for a traffic stop and pulled into the school. The suspect fled onto school property. The officer who made the traffic stop followed protocol, and an arrest was made. This would have played out the exact same way with or without a school resource officer being present at the school. Knowing the facts, still, we have people playing into the fears of parents, and it's wrong. Second, we have had a couple of incidents of threats to our schools in the past week. Our police department went into overdrive, and in each case, an arrest was made in a little less than 12 hours. In fact, my wife's work was one of the schools, and she didn't miss a single day, nor did herself or me feel that she was in harm's way. While we do not take these cases lightly, at no time were our kids, teachers, including my wife, and school staff in harm's way. But it didn't stop certain candidates from trying to instill fear into our families, and for that I'm embarrassed and I'm truly sorry. One candidate even went as far as to video a student being escorted into custody on school property and post on their social media account. After a call from the principal, the candidate did take it down, but enough is enough. During the whole process, I've been in contact with the principals, parents, and even students, along with our police chief and school resource officers, to make sure that our schools remain safe. In fact, the principals I've spoken with not only felt that they were more than safe, one of the principals even had 2 of his own children at one of the schools with a threat, and his kids did not miss a day. Our principals commended the police department on what they felt was above and beyond an amazing job, and I'd like to thank them. Another principal contacted me saying, "I want to thank you and your staff for handling of our situation on Friday." He went on to say that he wanted to thank our police chief personally and said to me, "Thanks again, it's a pleasure to be a principal in your city." As far as adding additional school resource officers, we are already doing it. I've been working with staff in our police department to find a way to add police officers in our schools well before any of these candidates tried to make it an issue, and they were aware. And the fastest way to put a sworn officer into each of our schools also happens to be the cheapest and most effective way. If we were to hire new full-time officers, the earliest we can get them into the schools would be about 10 months. What we are doing, we could have an officer in each of our public schools in 6 to 8 months. The difference is these would be officers who have recently retired, and we can hire them only for the school days. So each hour of every day of the school year, all of our schools would be covered. Aside from the timeliness advantage, this also would allow us to hire experienced officers and have them protecting our kids and teachers. The School Board of Broward County, unlike Palm Beach and Miami-Dade County school boards, only fund a small portion of the cost to have a full-time sworn officer in our schools. Our city spends millions of dollars each year because we put officers in our schools to make up the difference in funding from the school board. So, along with getting officers into our schools faster and hiring experienced officers, our plan will also save the taxpayers millions of dollars. By hiring recently retired officers, we will be able to hire them to cover the schools only when the school is occupied, therefore making them part-time positions that will cover our kids full-time. Our plan will do this on the limited funds that the school allocates for officers in the schools. This plan is cost neutral for our city. This equates to a savings of almost $20 million over the first 25 years and about $45 million over the first 50 years by not having to pay for full-time salary, pension, and health care costs of a new officer. So to repeat myself, just so everyone is clear once and for all, while every one of our schools are safe, contrary to what is being said for personal gain reasons about school resource officers not being added in our schools, this commission's plan will put more officers into the schools faster, officers with more experience, and with savings into the tens of millions of dollars for our taxpayers. The people spreading fear also know these facts and did not seem to care. And again, for that I am truly sorry. If anybody would like to speak to me on this or any other issue, please call my cell phone at 954-632-7544. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor.